Good evening. Welcome to Stoughton Godfathers. I'm your host, DeFelice, and I have a special thing we want to do today because of the season, the holidays, and so forth and so on. It's a time that, everybody's having a good time, and it's a joyous time, but it's also a time where there's some horrific accidents that can happen, and a lot of which probably, if you have knowledge ahead of time, they can be avoided. So I've got two of our experts here. We have the chief and the assistant. And I'm going to try and...
Yep, Jack Macomber. I'm the assistant fire chief, and the number two to Chief Carroll.
Yeah. And the reason was that I asked the assistant earlier, I said, gee, I don't want to kill your name here, so I was worried about the pronunciation of it. But anyway, all that being said, I guess what I'm going to do tonight is ask some questions, and you're going to say, oh, I know all about that, but maybe you don't. And that's why we have fire department heads here to give us some knowledge, and if not, things for you maybe to take some notes on and say, yeah, I got to check this out. But anyway, let's go on. So I think the first thing, gentlemen, would be to think about things within the house that could be a problem or something that we should be aware of. And I would think we might want to start with the Christmas trees. Of course, we have real trees and we have fake trees, I guess. So if you fellas want to talk about starting there with the Christmas tree and things, I'll let you take it from there.
Sure. So, again, Chief Carroll from the fire department. No, it's fine. Chief Macomber's name was the tough one.
Yeah, that's right.
Get my name right. But whether it's decorations, Christmas trees, you want to make sure, especially the real Christmas trees, the live trees that were cut down, watering it, keeping the water at a good level. Making sure that you don't buy it too early where it dries out. We've had multiple fires with Christmas trees over the years. Whether it's a spark or open flame got a little bit too close to it, or where you position it within the house are all important. The other thing that I've seen some real devastation with is if the Christmas tree unfortunately does a fire is created, or you get a fire within the Christmas tree. We've had a number of people try to get the Christmas trees out themselves, which created so much more damage and also blocked the exit of the house. The best thing to do is just get out of the house, call 911, get out of the house as quick as you can. We have the ability to mitigate that and probably cause less damage. Certainly life safety is number one, but when people are trying to, they do it with mattresses too, mattress fire or Christmas tree. Yeah, it seems like that's the way it came in, you carried it in, but trying to get a Christmas tree that even the smallest fire, you're adding airflow to it, you're creating more of a fire, and now you just blocked your means of egress, which, could be devastating.
Mm-hmm. While we're in the house, so to speak, what about things like candles? And the other thing I'll just throw in this point in time would be fireplaces, wood burning stoves, which may or may not be in close vicinity of the tree, but in themselves they have certain things people should watch for.
Sure.
Not the least of which is, what do you do with the ashes?
Yeah.
Right. No, those are great questions, Ed. And just to dovetail on what Chief Carroll, said about the holiday trees and the Christmas trees, I can use my own family as an example. We celebrate Christmas and Hanukkah. We have all sorts of wire lighting throughout. My wife loves to celebrate the holidays and has lighting everywhere. So we do recommend strongly that you check any wired lighting for your decorations, and if they're no longer serviceable, just dispose of them and purchase new sets of wired lighting. But always check that the connections are good because they can get overheated, which brings us to the next thing is the overuse of electrical junction boxes for your lighting. Many have seen the comedy holiday movies like with Chevy Chase for National Lampoon's
right.
holiday vacation, and you see where they've got 100 wide lighting plugs sticking into the wall. Well, unfortunately, these are true fire hazards also, and we've most certainly, unfortunately, over the years gone to
Right,
fires
we look
due
at
to
those
that.
movies and so forth as comedy, but in fact, as you're saying, it happens.
Absolutely, it has real application. And to this being that time of the year in the Northeast in the winter, you had mentioned the fireplaces. I have a gas log fireplace, and many people still have wood burning stoves and fireplaces. The ashes should be removed from your house, immediately. They shouldn't be stored or kept in the house because there can be embers burning for hours at a time. So when we're done with the wood burning fireplace, we strongly urge you to remove of the ashes and or embers immediately upon cleaning the fireplace. And I know the chief would double down on saying, at a minimum, have your flue or chimney system cleaned by a licensed professional on an annual basis if you regularly use a wood-burning fireplace.
No,
Have them
absolutely.
cleaned and maintained.
And to your point about the ashes, I mean, even at Home Depot, you can buy the steel drums or buckets, pails to put them in. I would even add water to that outside and get it away from the house. We had a fire last year where the gentleman cleaned his fireplace, put it right outside in his garage, caught the wood stairs on fire, came up inside, got into the kitchen, but also his garage. And, he even admitted, he goes, I was just being lazy. I just kind of took the ashes and I just put them outside and I thought I'd get it tomorrow. Well, even if you think that you have it all extinguished and they're just old ashes, they burn for quite a while underneath. And I wanted to touch on one more thing with the electrical aspect. And people get creative and they run them under rugs. They want to hide the cords, extension cords. Well, that creates even more heat, right? And by either they get pinched or they're always, people sit a chair on it, well, that's causing more and more heat on the electrical cords themselves, which create fires. So you want to keep those free and clear. And you also, since we talked about Christmas trees, keep them away from the wood stoves. I know it looks nice next to the fireplace, but it's really, it could be seriously dangerous.
Have you guys seen any accidents where someone might be on a stool trying to put something on the top of the tree?
Unfortunately.
You've seen that too?
Yes, we do, with, and typically if they're using an approved step ladder, we don't as often see that case unless they're using it to its limit and standing on the top. But with that said, oftentimes people will, want to do stuff quickly or expeditiously, and they'll use something like a bucket or a chair, and they're leaning heavily towards, and they lose their footing, and injuries get caused. But
You were talking about being careful with the embers, and I'm old enough to remember when we would have coal delivered through a little window in the cellar into a coal bin, and then you had your furnace over here.
Sure.
And the big thing in those days were that you would take the embers and you would put them in your garden.
Okay.
And, yeah.
that's
And
right.
but it's a little different. I don't know if that would be the same to do with wood embers, but there was some of the chemicals that were left were advantageous for a good garden. But that's going way back.
Right. No, I'm glad you brought up the burning of coal. We don't see that as often anymore, but we still do have oil burning heating systems that is prevalent in the Northeast. And we strongly urge everyone that at a minimum once a year they have their oil burners cleaned out.
Checked out, makes sense. Yeah.
The other thing about fireplaces now, the technology's technology, we can talk about that for a second.
Sure.
They make candles that look just like a real flame. So I would advise to those anytime you can, whether they're battery operated. But direct vent fireplaces, or we've seen a lot of, carbon monoxide is that silent killer. You can't smell it. You hope that your carbon monoxide detector picks up on it, but snow drifts will block that direct vent. And people also with your heating system. So you want to make sure that around your house is cleared away and not occluding any of those vents, because the carbon monoxide then builds up in your house. And if that's at night, you'll never wake up, and that's the problem. And, we do, obviously, you would want the carbon monoxide detectors and smoke detectors, but, God forbid, in those parts per million, it can get lethal really, really quick.
So would that include like dry events?
Dry events, yep.
Anything that's venting out, I guess?
Yeah, anytime there's a snow drift that builds up on the house, and you've seen it, sometimes it's shallow out on your front door, but then the back of the house, it kind of built up. We've seen that plenty of times, yeah.
Absolutely. Forced hot water systems, heating systems, dryer systems, just like you said, and any type of fossil fuel burning heating systems throughout. Like the chief said, keep them at this time of year.
We've been talking now about these alert systems. So maybe just to deviate a little bit while we're talking about it, do you want to talk about the various, the heat, the COs, as you mentioned?
Those are great questions, and we'd love to talk to them. At a
we
minimum, depending, all homes in Massachusetts are required, depending on the age, whether it's a hardwired smoke detector system combined with carbon monoxide, or whether they're battery operated. At a bare minimum, the hallways where all the bedrooms are to have smoke and heat detectors, all under 10 years old. And if they're battery operated, we recommend at daylight savings time to change them twice a year. And if you haven't done that, please do it right now before the holidays for smoke. So on every level of the home, there's a minimum of one smoke detector and one carbon monoxide detector. In the hallways outside of any bedrooms, there's a carbon monoxide and smoke detector. All under 10 years old. If they get older than 10 years old, they're truly not expensive. And if there are any seniors in the community that are looking for some support, we feel free to reach out to us at the fire department, and we can assist seniors with that if they have any questions or if they need any upgrades or updates with their detectors. We do have a program for seniors for fire safety.
So we'll go out and we'll install a new smoke detector for them. They would just have to schedule that. One of our safe members, senior safe program is what we call it, will go out and even if you have questions, they'll do an inspection for you, because it's important, and we don't want the elderly up on ladders trying to install it.
There's an accident waiting.
You kind of put it all together right there. And we're talking about the cold weather months, the space heaters, which have become really popular. Many of them are safe and they have the automatic shutoffs, but we see people putting them next to flammable materials, right? Like whether it's drapery or anything that may burn. You certainly don't want to leave them on overnight, but people really become creative, especially. And we were just talking about how expensive fossil fuels are. People become creative on how to keep their house warm. You never want to use your oven as a means of heat, but also those space heaters, and they can warm up very quickly and become dangerous.
Are they safe to be on a rug?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily. It depends. The newer ones are nice because they have that automatic shut off if they were to flip, but and usually the heat rises up. But if you can put it on a solid surface, even if you had to put, I don't know, get creative, put a baking pan underneath it and put it on that. If you're wall-to-wall carpets, right?
Yeah.
But I just, it's just since we're talking about heating and warming the house, I understand people do need them and people do use them.
That's it. Thank you very much for bringing that up about the seniors, because even myself, as I've been getting older, there are a lot of things as you get older you think you still can do, but you can't. Either you can't, or you can only do it at a much lower level, and there are a lot of seniors that that are even much older than I am, but still I'm still old, but that they may be living alone and may not have access to. As your children move away, if they're in town, that's great. But if they move to different areas and they're far away, it becomes very difficult for those individuals. And knowing what you just said, I kind of knew that, but I think it's great information for anybody watching tonight that, for older people, especially if you don't live close enough to your parents or they don't have access to someone to help them do some of these things, like say you had to take the ashes out or something, whatever it might be. You just heard from these fellows that there's help available there too, which is great. So let's see, what else did I have here to talk? We talked about all of that stuff. Okay, so getting to the outside, where probably starting at where you would be doing lights and so forth, and that same old problem comes in, maybe even to a larger extent, is ladders when you're putting up decorations. I won't mention names, but we had a former selectman that had a terrible accident a few years back, falling from a ladder, and that doesn't matter how old or young you are. You're always susceptible to something to happen. So if one of you could elaborate a little bit about that, especially now we're talking not step ladders, but
Extension ladders.
Extension ladders,
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
Sure. The first thing that we would recommend to everyone, when at all possible, utilize an extension ladder or even a step ladder for that matter, with an individual actually what we would call footing the ladder or holding the ladder at the base. So whenever possible, hopefully there's another member of the family or even a neighbor, because this isn't something they won't likely be on the ladders for hours at a time. So we do it ourselves when we throw ground ladders at whether it's a non-emergent situation or an emergent situation like at fires. We do it with multiple firefighters, and there's a reason, because they are devices and tools that are helpful in these situations, but they can fail, and depending, especially this time of year with the ground frozen, they can give way. So whenever possible, we strongly urge everyone to use two people when they're using the ground ladders.
Yeah, I would also say, you really have to be careful. A fall, essentially 2.5 times your height, but we would use probably 20 feet. Well, that would buy you a ticket on a ride of med flight. The amount of trauma that happens in the body on an impact from that height does more than a broken limb. It impacts the organs. It could shift any of the organs, the brain. So we're really concerned with that. Being able to get that ladder to stay in place is difficult, especially if there's ice underneath that snow. People kind of reach a little bit too far. There's always little tricks you could use, but whether it's, I typically, if our manpower is down and I need to get up the ladder, I'll get up there and I'll put a pair of vice grips on the ladder connecting to the gutters, right?
Yeah.
It'll keep it from moving. It won't keep it from slipping out, but I tie it off the house. My wife thinks I'm crazy when I go up to clean the gutters, because I'm tying the base off to, around the railing in the house, and then I also get up there and I get those vice grips on the ladder and the gutters. But I know what can happen.
Sure.
And once you're up on the roof, that roof is slippery. Even if there's no snow on it, when those shingles harden,
Sure.
They get slippery. And we've had quite a few falls, as you pointed out, one individual, but it happens quite a bit. And there's no shame in asking your neighbor to actually foot your ladder, and also when you're running those lights, be careful as well. Also with those ladders, your electrical lines going into your house, you got to really be careful of overhead. If you touch that ladder, your aluminum ladder to the power lines, there's
The ambulance is coming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you get
yeah.
another ride.
Yeah, another ride, yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing about that too is that if you do use a ladder and you've done it improperly and you fall, the other thing there is, and if you're out there alone in the winter especially, and you fall whether it's snow or not, you're going to have a problem getting help because you're out there, you're alone. Hopefully you've got a phone that you can, call somebody, or if your phone's on the table in the house, you could be in a lot of trouble for a length of time until I guess somebody misses you.
Sure.
So
hypothermia sets in.
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a
there's
lot
all
of
these other
issues
things
with
can
that.
happen.
Yeah.
It's a great point of information, Ed. So if you feel that you need to do something on your own, it's always great to contact another family member and say,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to be doing some work outside the house, whether it's one of your family members inside the house or it can be a neighbor next door,
Sure,
So
sure.
it's just a smart practice to, look out for yourself and your well-being.
I think what happens too is a lot of us will start doing a project and you feel that I've got to get this done. And, if I wait till X time, my son will come over, but I can't wait that long.
Sure.
But you've got to, like you said, make the decision that, you've got to think ahead a little bit, and if there's a potential problem, just,
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, it doesn't hurt to call and say, hey, I'm going to be putting this up. If you don't hear from me in an hour, give me a buzz. It's concerning, and maybe our egos kick in. Oh no, I got this. I can get it done. But if not for you, do it for your family.
Yeah,
They don't want to
right.
come home and find some sort of tragedy.
right, and there may not be a St. Bernard in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
so,
there might not be.
While we're outside, another thing that comes into play a lot, maybe not a lot, because you guys weren't privy to that time, is people going out on the ice. You have, if you, thinking way back when we were kids, you really can't gauge the thickness of the ice. We used to always throw rocks out, stuff like that, but that's not going to really tell you how thick it is. We see a lot of things on TV where people are in the water, and you guys have to suit up and go out and get them and
Sure,
whatever.
right.
Then there might be a dogs there too. And it's like helter skelter. So I guess maybe talk a little
Yeah.
bit on that type of thing.
Absolutely, this is the right time of year to talk about
Sure.
that, Ed. And the town of Stoughton, they actually provide a great recreational service at Gay Street and 138, just across the
Sure.
street from the
Yep.
town spa, to where they actually clear all of the vegetation just prior to the winter, and then they flood the area so that anyone that would like to do any outdoor skating, we would strongly urge them or recommend that would be the place. And it's highly visible there, so even if something happened and the ice wasn't fully frozen there, they'd just be in a shallow part of the water, and it could be seen by passersby. It's right there on Route 138, and we could be there within minutes. And it's an area that's designated for outdoor skating and ice use. So we would strongly urge that. And there are many indoor ice skating facilities within the area that they could also use. But yeah, we would strongly urge any of the other bodies of water within the town to stay away from them as far as skating, or forbid trying to travel by foot across. We just under no circumstance would we say should they deem it or consider it safe for travel across it.
Yeah, the other areas in town, a lot of them are isolated, and even if somebody went through the ice and called 911 right away, our capabilities on the local level are that of the submersible suits, but those are buoyant, right? So if somebody really goes under, we're activating the state dive team, whether they're coming in out of Boston or the state police or Quincy has a dive team. But that takes time to activate and move along,
Sure,
right?
sure.
So every, for the time that person is under, that golden hour we call it, or maybe hypothermia helps a little bit, but that time is ticking. So if you're traveling in and you're going, we used to skate down in Woodsies, right?
Oh, yeah.
And but you're trekking, right? And so, it takes us a while to get in there. Now, if there's snow built up, now we have to do removal. So the idea of skating at Meets Pond is, it actually eases my my stress level with, we've actually done a little training there. If you go through the ice, somebody, and I'm not even 6 feet, and I'm up to my thighs, right? So the capability, the chances of somebody going under and staying under are very minimal there. That's why we recommend that highly.
Yeah. I remember a few years back, I was going down by Old Albert's Pond, and I think you folks were out there training there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
We try to get out there because that's where we can get under. We can get our apparatus, and they're easy to do our training. But it takes a lot. I mean, we use, we have a sled that goes over the ice, and we push that out. We're belayed or connected by rope going out there. We have to, and we have to go out 2 at a one, and there has to be 2 ready to go in case something was to happen to one of us.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of time to get these resources moving that would be really needed. So, and I think they do a really good job down at Meads.
Yeah.
Clearing that out. And
I recall, I don't know if they still do it over in Sharon, I don't know the name of the pond, but it's down where they have the gun club in the back, like.
Oh, okay.
There's a trout pond there. And they used to have like a buoy of some kind with a rope, and you could throw it out. I don't know if they still have it there or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they used to.
As a safety, yeah.
As a safety thing, yeah. I don't know if this, next time I go by, they'll have to look for it.
Yeah.
But, I remember a few times jogging over to DW, and the Brockton departments would be in there doing the same thing. And it's amazing to kind of watch the training as to how they do it. That was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
And
Not that it's cool. I mean,
no, we do that too, Ed. The chief and I have done it since we were young firefighters. Chief's been on 30 years. I've been on 29 years, and we still do it today. In the summer months, all operational emergency response personnel go out during the winter months to train with water rescue, and during the winter months in the January, February timeframe, it is not uncommon at all to see our members down there with the ice rescue suits on, and we'll break holes through the ice if we have to, just so that we could make the training as realistic as possible. So we do it multiple times a year with all personnel.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the thing with.
It's so specialized it doesn't happen on a regular basis, like other emergencies that we have to train on.
Yeah. Well, I think that's true in many. I don't want to talk for your industry, but in many of the trades also, as you were saying, practice makes perfect. So there's a lot of stuff that people don't even realize. Even if you drive by a working job site, that there's so many things, we won't get into it, but there's so many things that can happen there too if those people aren't careful. And then we call you guys.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask, do you guys have any of those, what do you call them? The sleds?
Oh,
we would use that. We do that. That's what it is. And we will, so the sled he's talking about will go over the ice. It also floats once we hit a spot that maybe the ice had cracked away, but now it's the water, so it will slide on the ice. Then once it hits water, it will float. The paddle's kind of special because the paddle quite literally has a, so it looks like a razor knife coming out of it, so we can pull on the ice, but then once we get the water, we can paddle out, and we can operate right off that, right? And it's got 2 railings too. So that's the techniques we're trying to train on, is actually getting a person, I almost call it a body, sorry, a little dark mind here, but getting a person out of the water is not what you see in the movies. You just don't grab them and pull them up. It's extremely labor intensive, and there's certain techniques that we can use, even use in our suits. If we just go down a little bit and use that as momentum to get them up and on, You know, where we grab them, how we grab them, because don't forget, when you go into the water, that temperature of the water, it's starting to shut down your system. It's automatically, your body's just, the way it reacts is it wants to save the vital organs, your brain, your heart, right? So it just starts shutting down all the use of your muscles, your extremities, so you can't swim. I don't know whether anybody's really been in cold water, but you really shut down quickly. Your body just wants to save your heart and your brain, and so they're useless. You know, they can't hold on, they can't grab on in that type of water. So we have to train to make up for the lack of the ability of that person to use their extremities. So some of the stuff you say training, but I think that's why sometimes people think that, you know, just like, you know, the people that don't want to ask for help, oh no, I'd be fine if I fell in. You know, me as a little kid, I can tell you, I thought I would be fine until I got in one of those suits and it had a leak, and I was like, oh no, like this is extremely, hypothermia will kick in. So, and we have actually during the winter we have warm IV fluid. It's heated, so we're trying to get you warmed up. We have protocols we go by on hypothermia. It's a lot. It can be one of the most devastating things to somebody, especially young people.
Yeah, I would imagine too, if someone goes into the water, whether it's winter or summer, that person's going to be a lot heavier with all the water.
Sure.
In your clothes, and like you're probably going to, I don't know if it's a factor of two or not, but you know, certainly that makes it, for you guys or anybody that will try to help.
Oh yeah, that water soaks, those clothes, especially the winter clothes, soak up that water. And and then even if you fall in the water, you're fine, you get out, right? Go home and take those clothes off right away, because those going to still continue to freeze and cause hypothermia. And that's where, you know, frostbite sits in.
Now, do you have like the snowmobiles too? If, like you mentioned earlier, some people get out in these areas that are somewhat remote.
Yeah, a snowmobile from the 1970s.
We do, and believe it or not, our mechanic, he's outstanding. He does keep it operational and running.
So you've had those?
New to the department this year, we do have a all-terrain utility vehicle that we could, unless it's extreme snow conditions, and we're talking over 4 feet of snow, this vehicle, which is a side-by-side, multiple firefighters can go in it with a dump bed to where we can put an actual board on it, so we could carry out a patient if we needed to. So that just came, you know, into the department within the past year, and it's an excellent tool, especially this time of year. So that would be our preference and priority, because we could load all the medical gear on it. But we do, like the chief said, still have the original snowmobile that goes back to with the blizzard of '78, right?
Someone donated that after the blizzard of the blizzard of '76.
So,
well, you guys know it's budget time.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's true. I mean,
we've always got support from the community when
that's
needed.
an old piece of equipment.
Oh yeah,
1970s.
It really is.
Yeah.
The snow makes things so much more difficult, as everybody knows.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, you're talking about the winter and the snow piles up, pedestrians out. We've had a lot of pedestrians struck by cars.
Sure.
Gets darker earlier. And you know, the intersections are blocked. You know, you remember that year we had like 109 inches of snow over the winter.
Yeah, there's been a few. I remember plowing some of those.
Yeah, I bet, right?
No
You're
fun.
running out of places to put it,
no
right?
fun. Yeah.
But, you know, and people can't walk on the sidewalk, so then they're in the street a little bit. You know, so I just ask people to be really careful. And you can't drive as fast. I know everybody's a great driver, I believe you, but sometimes that ice takes over, or you hit some of those areas, and you know, you lose control, and you can't see, and it's concerning. It really is.
So how? Just a quickie as I'm turning my page.
Don't let me forget about snow blowers.
Go ahead.
Snow blower safety.
Oh yeah, that's right. This would be good.
Well, for starters, please start your snow blowers outside, not inside the garage, because you can push carbon monoxide within the house. It only takes a few minutes, and that can get within the HVAC system of the house. So that's one. Please always start them outside of the house. And as far as safe use of the snow blowers, if they lock up or they're not throwing the snow properly, shut them down. Do not try to clear any snow or any obstacles that may have gotten into the snow blowing system while they're still running. Always shut the snow blower off prior to doing any type of maintenance or freeing any obstructions of that.
Yeah.
Chief.
Yeah, no, so
Unfortunately,
so
we've both
had
been to.
so many accidents with snowblowers.
It's tragic too.
It is
It's
tragic.
very preventable.
It's loss of hands, loss of fingers, for something that could be, avoided so easily. Even when you shut it off, sometimes those rotation blades, just once you free that, it just gives that little extra kick because it's been wound, waiting to go.
Sure.
So most snowblowers nowadays provide a little stick, but even if you don't have that, get a stick, get something long. Don't ever reach your fingers into the blades.
Sure.
The ice gets caught up, and I understand it won't move until, but shut it down. Get some sort of, I don't know, maybe 2-foot stick or what's provided, and then just take your time to break it away. We have had so many accidents in loss of, like I said, fingers or even a hand at one time for something that was so simple to avoid. In the carbon monoxide too, I don't think people realize the danger of carbon monoxide because even starting your car in a garage, they'll start it, in the morning, or they'll let their car warm up, and I can't even tell you the number of people that do it in the garage with the garage doors closed. The CO will fill up. I don't think anything fills it up faster than a car running in the garage. And it doesn't take long before the lethal limit is reached when a car is running to fill a house with CO.
Right.
I mean, and
Can't smell it, don't even know.
Yep.
And people are in bed sleeping. It's, sad, which can bring us to loss of power at this time of year in generators.
Sure.
Chief will be happy to double down on that.
Yeah,
but
the generators
use of
inside the house,
generators.
or even near an intake of fresh air, for your HVAC system. Don't, make sure you're setting them up far away from the house, and do not set them up inside the house. It another way to really just.
Unfortunately, from time to time,
It's tragic.
They'll set it up in their garage and think that, well, if I just crack the door open, it'll be fine. No, it will build up within the garage and the house itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just a personal thing for me on the COs. I don't know, it was a year or so, not too long ago. Our alarm went off. That's the carbon dioxide. Look around. I didn't have anything. It was in the fairly good weather. There was nothing in the garage. To this day, I still don't know what happened. But when these folks came down, I remember this gigantic fan that you brought in to kind of blow the stuff out.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still don't know how it happened, but it did. And luckily, as you guys said earlier, I did have that alarm.
Yeah, no,
And,
please call us, even if you think it's a battery issue, even if you think it's just, going off. It's old. Please call us. We have meters.
Yeah.
Every truck has a meter to read the parts per million of carbon monoxide in your house. People have even left their, going by, hit their gas stove, and just enough not to hit the pilot, but get the gas going. Down in your furnace, we've had blocked furnaces. Don't forget the animals outside are trying to nest and find somewhere warm, and sometimes, they get inside these vents.
Especially the different birds.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so they'll block the venting system for either heat or hot water or dryer vent system, and that's, an area that the carbon monoxide can certainly infiltrate. But you did the right thing there, Ed. We want everyone to call us. This is what we're here for. We're public servants. We're serving the community. So when in doubt, don't think twice. to call us, and best case scenario, it's a detector that needs to be replaced or maybe a battery replacement. But like in your case, we had to bring out what we call a positive pressure ventilation fan to clear your house.
Yeah.
So you had a true emergency going
without
on in
knowing
your
it.
house.
And
Absolutely.
I think, as the chief said, I thought it was some kind of a malfunction, because now you're thinking,
Sure.
there should be smoke, but it's colorless,
Sure.
and it isn't. And I think the first thing that the firefighters did was go floor to floor. They had meters.
Right, with the meter.
Yeah. And then they brought that big guy in.
The fan, yeah.
Oh, one of the biggest fans I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, it works well.
But you just talked about pets.
Yeah.
If we skip back to the stuff we started with inside, what are things you have to be careful of that a pet could knock over or something, or get hung up on an extension cord or something?
Yeah.
Is there anything there, or is it just pot
The
luck?
holiday time of year, for sure.
Yeah.
Right, with any and all the decorations, if you have especially a larger dog. But then, depending on what type of pet you have, some of them like to chew. Or they'll think something is a toy and they want to play with that decoration, and they could be chewing on a live wire for lighting for the decorations. So it's everyone should be mindful that to us what's simple decorations, and why would my pet certainly care about that, but it's something new to them and distracting, and they're curious.
Yeah.
And they're, from time to time going to be investigated.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, depending on the age of the pup or the dog or the cat, but a lot of people get puppies for Christmas and whatnot, and they're cute, but they start chewing on the wires, right? They start chewing on the wires and and chewing on, or pull the Christmas tree down, or pull at it, and there's definitely pet incidents that create, some sort of issue. I would also say, be careful of these animals, especially we've had some real cold weather over the past couple winters, and be aware of their health too.
Sure.
If you leaving them outside, or even they just as much get the pads on their paws aren't developed, they'll get frostbite within those, and so
it's just things we don't think of. I would have never thought about frostbite on a dog.
Yeah, well, my wife's a pretty avid animal person, so I think she worried about making sure the animals are tucked away before me. But I'm the same way, so I can't say it. But the animals are part of our family, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
they really are.
They really are.
And I'm a big animal person, but that's why even we had a fire where we lost 3 dogs, unfortunately, and the owner never told us the dogs were in there, which is tragic. And that's why please tell us. I mean, we're doing our primary searches, our secondary searches. Cats, for some reason, they figure it out. I mean, but any animal, like, hey, we have a dog there. We have a dog inside, whether he's in a crate or whether he's upstairs or wherever he would typically go when he's scared. But we, that's a loss to us too. We feel tragic when that happens, and I understand everybody's out, but again, your pet's part of your family, so we like to know that stuff. As much information as possible. We actually got new software where we're transitioning to now. It's called Community Connect, which I'm very excited about for the community. We bought, it's a whole package of software, but one thing, part of this, aside from our reports and all that, is Community Connect. I'm very excited for the Stoughton community because it's voluntarily. If you want to go on, you could sign up and you could put in, Michael Carroll, my address, and these are some of the things I have. If somebody has some sort of disability or a disabled child in the house, pets. You can even update it as soon as, like, I'll be on vacation, such and such. But what happens is, as we're responding to that location, that will populate on our MDTs on our engines. So we're like, okay, we're going to Michael Carroll's. Okay, he has a disabled, mother who's in a wheelchair. Okay, good. There's also 3 pets assigned to this house. It's all information you want to give. We don't want anything you don't want to give us. People who may be epileptic, diabetes, or some sort of ailments. But it's just more information so we can actually provide a better service to you.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. That should be up and running soon, and I think it's great for the community.
Yeah. I think the police department has, in a similar vein, I think they've done this in the past. They've asked people that have Ring or whatever kind of, I don't know if you call it surveillance system, but that have cameras in their yards that may look out in the street. And I remember the thing back then was that if people wanted to say, hey, I have a camera, I live on this address.
Sure.
If something happens, then the police department can go to their list and say something happens on XYZ Street, and they go, oh, geez, everybody's got a camera there. And it's, like you said, it's voluntary, and that's kind of a similar situation, which is
Sure.
obviously very helpful.
Yeah, no,
obviously.
it's helpful. I know over in Brockton, the Ring they actually were able to finally catch arsonist that was running around.
Sure.
From another, they asked if anybody had Ring cameras in the neighborhood, and they literally found the guy lighting the building on fire. So, it's a tool, it's a useful tool. Again, we don't want to get into your life or your business, anything that you don't want to provide, we wouldn't request, but anything that can help us at that moment, it's only going to help us help you. Right.
Agreed.
Do you see anything, general question here, that you guys really need? We talked about the 1970 machine,
Right.
but you guys seem to keep pretty up to date. I haven't been a town meeting member some time, but I always seem to be keeping things pretty up to date, and I think the town meeting is always there
Yeah,
to
they're great.
help that. But is there anything in particular that, because you see all these different things coming out, and some may have only applied to cities, some may apply to rural areas, but
Sure.
I think just from our most recent experience in the past several years, I don't want to speak for the chief, but I believe he feels the same, that when we've come to the residents, either at town meeting or special town meeting, and we've explained why we need a certain resource, we've truly overwhelmingly got the support of the community.
Yeah, I think that's,
whether it was a special town meeting and we were looking to upgrade our cardiac monitors because the existing ones we have, the recommended replacement date is now, and also with other medical devices, and overwhelmingly the community supported us when we need new ambulance or apparatus. We've truly have had the support of the community, and we fully expect that they should, want to ask and know why we need it, and we provide, them with the reason that we need this resource, and we've truly had their support, over the past more than several years, right,
yeah,
Chief?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true, and it's what's probably impeding us the most is nothing to do with the town, or the town has been great and supportive. It's the rest of the world. So one is, like, we're going to need a ladder on our replacement policy. We're not going to be going for a ladder for another year, but I think what keeps me up at night is that right now, apparatus, and I'm sure it's industry-wide on other, but apparatus, if I was to order a ladder today, we're not getting it for 4 years. Because of it's the delay is 4 years, and our backup ladder is a 1987, and our current ladder, which hopefully will be coming back very soon, was somebody pulled out in front of them Lincoln and Pleasant, and they hit
Well,
the
they have
telephone
Jimmy's
pole.
Market.
Tough place down there.
Oh yeah, no, it's tough. So that was out getting fixed. So that's a concern. The other thing, and I talk about the rest of the world, all technology, these lithium-ion batteries. So we just putting in for a grant to get, there is actual stuff, it's called cell block. It's kind of like shredded glass, almost like a fiberglass, but you put the batteries, and I'm not just talking about Teslas, I'm talking about like your power tools, everything's lithium now. Even on my computer here is lithium ion. But we're having a lot of fires. The only way they've found to mitigate those issues is to pack them in this thing called cell block, and then these special containers that have vents on them. And we're a little bit behind on that, or behind the 8 ball on that, but we did apply for a grant. We want to get that equipment and also bring out training. And Brockton actually has a really good system. They use their Brockton Recycling. They got together with a grant to mitigate those. Actually, the last fire, they found lithium-ion batteries. They pack them, they put them in that, they put them out in the yard in a safe place for 45 days at Brockton Recycling, and then they take them out, package them, and they ship them out. And I think lithium-ion battery companies usually will give money back to that. But those are the things I think we're ill-equipped to handle right now. We will handle it. We'll use a ton of water, and it's going to take us a while. But what happens a lot with the fire service, it's been happening since the beginning of time. But things come out, and then there's problems with it. Okay, figure it out. All right, and a lot of fire. Okay, how are we going to handle this? Like I even hear one of the new fuels that they want to start pushing is hydrogen, right?
That sounds explosive to me.
Hey, well, everybody goes right back, right, to the blimp. But it's actually, from what I find, is very, very easy to work with. Now they're just starting the conversation, but I actually had an industry expert call myself. Actually, they called, and then me and the chief from Brockton met with them, and I said, "This is where they're starting to explore where to go. What are your concerns?" I said, "I wish they did this with lithium-ion batteries with us, because the ability to actually be in there at the onset at the beginning will give us time to figure it out. We'll typically figure it out, but it takes time, and when it takes time, if you see the way some of these lithium-ion batteries have exploded, especially there's some really amazing videos in New York.
Sure.
And kids bring their scooters in, they leave them in the hallway. They don't just, it is a violent eruption of heat and fire that almost instantaneously ignite everything around it. The thermal runoff on them is what they call it. Is just, it builds up, and then it just releases, and it blocks exits for people. It blocks their ability to get out of these apartment buildings. New York Fire has a whole program, and they're following it. But if you looked up FDNY lithium-ion fires, there's just a ton of them. And so I would say that you're safe, people. I don't want to scare people, but if it has like a UL Lab sticker, safety sticker on it, I'd order the cheap one offline that, probably doesn't have that, you're pretty safe. But that's not really what's happening out there, and that's what keeps me up at night, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
And as you're talking about these batteries, I don't know whether or not a lot of people out there may not realize the responsibilities that our department has out on the highway.
Oh.
So that means that if they haven't already, more than likely at some point, they're going to have that situation where there's a Tesla and they get the fire going like crazy that they're going to have to deal with. Has that happened to you guys at all? Yet?
So
Not yet?
Not typically that. I know Weston just had one.
Right.
Yeah.
They spent 4 hours out on the highway because they didn't have the equipment to deal with it. So the only other thing to do is continuously get water on it, because no tow truck is going to move that, because it's just going to rekindle. It's just going to spark back up. They even have the process now where they'll take it and they'll put it in, I was telling you, in a sealed dumpster, fill it with water, set the Tesla in there, and just leave it in the yard for days.
Wow.
Because they've had them reignite. They thought it was out, they put it in the yard next to the building, and they'd reignite. So No, we try to push it up. If it's in Stoughton, we try to push it up 24 a little bit further to Randolph or somewhere else. No, I'm just kidding.
So
I like the idea, though.
like the chief said, we're constantly in that challenge of keeping up with technology,
Yeah, the
whether it's on
technology,
the
yeah.
emergency medical services side, and like the chief said, technology, things that make our lives easier and better and save more energy. The lithium-ion batteries, the chief will tell you, one of another components that's born out of that is these energy storage devices, which
Sure.
is a convenient word for batteries.
Sure.
That's truly what they are.
That's what they are.
And the building codes, electrical codes, they haven't
Not
all
even caught
stayed up with it, or the fire codes for that matter. So they've put us, in a, area to where we have to work hand in hand with the state and the building inspector to say, there's nothing on the books, but we need to ensure that someone has these energy
10 seconds
storing
left.
areas
Yeah.
that, that we can safely put that fire out and save the occupants of that facility.
This will be my last question. Does the fire service, whether it be your department or any departments around the country, actually, are drones used in any of these?
We actually got a drone.
You do have one?
Yeah, we got a drone. We just had a class. We're having guys. We have one pilot now. We had a group of them they're preparing for their drone license. They're an amazing.
Yeah,
piece
you
of
would think so,
equipment.
because
They are amazing.
you
We
can
have
see
a-
things that you can't see.
Sure, and so we used it. We used it for the 4th of July.
Uh-huh.
And what was nice about that is not only can we keep an eye on the crowd if there's any medicals, any issues, but we went to the we can flip it over to, we have a thermal image camera on it as well. So we picked up some hot fallout from the fireworks onto the
really?
Wilkins School.
Wow.
So I sent an engine and ladder company over there to get up there. And just make sure, first of all, make sure there was no damage, but also take it off and wet it down. And they're great. Whether it's a
Yeah,
large
yeah.
building, whether it's a search and rescue, it's amazing what it can do. I just want to touch on one more thing.
Sure.
People, when you're out there shoveling, if you're not in shape, please take those breaks. Make sure you're hydrated. Not many people drink water in the winter, but make sure you're hydrated. If you have a young kid, send them out there. We have a lot of cardiac arrests and a lot of issues with people and injuries when shoveling, but I'm really concerned about the cardiac aspect of it.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming over and sharing this information with us. I think for a lot of people, it may, I don't think it was boring at all, but it may, in some cases, you may have known a lot of this stuff. In that case, it's kind of a review for those folks. But for the folks that weren't aware of this information that's been given out to you, it's been great for all those folks. And so in general, I think this has been a great show, and I appreciate that you guys, you don't mind me calling you guys?
Oh, not at all. Not at all.
Someone's probably going to
Please.
criticize me for saying that.
No, I like it.
Okay. So I think knowledge is king, really, when you think about it. So having the awareness that these folks bring to all of us is helpful. And remember what was said here. They are available for various questions, anything to do with safety, any question you might have, run it by them. Just like the time I had that CO thing, and I thought it was the alarm, and when they went through my house with the meters, they said, get out of here. So it's all important, and especially for the holiday season.
Yeah.
And Chief and Mr. Assistant, thank you
Happy
very
holiday-
much.
happy
Happy holidays,
everybody.
and for everybody, be safe. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.